Right now, 1 month later, a Beloit family still searching for answers as a homicide investigation remains unsolved. And we'll have the latest updates on an early morning crash that injures 10 as a packed SUV traveling to the state girls basketball tournament is involved in an accident. Plus, a harsh indictment handed down to actor Jussie Smollett after police say he staged a hate crime against himself.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 10.
Nearly a month after Beloit's first homicide of the year, no arrests have been made. Rock County reporter Adam Duxter spoke to James Tompton's family, who is still hopeful police will find the person responsible for his death.
In early February, James Tompton was killed here near this spot on Vine Street in Beloit. Now, nearly a month later, his family is still left with unanswered questions. It was a month ago tomorrow, Crystal Thompson lost her brother, James.
He loved cars. He loved his kids. He was the type of person, if there was something going on, he was going to come defend you no matter what.
But she still remembers the events of that day perfectly.
And I didn't know until I got there, and he was still on the ground, that he was really gone.
In the days after James Tompton's murder, police issued a call for tips, any they could get. But still, no arrests have been made. In an email statement today, they say they're still actively searching, but can't release information on the investigation at this time. Tompton says it's been difficult knowing the person responsible for her brother's death could still be out there.
I'm really shocked because they got the video surveillance, so I don't understand why they can't figure out who did it. But also in part, why was he left sitting so long in his car before anybody even found him? Especially since his car was on a terrace running. I know it was cold that day, but somebody should have seen something.
The snowbank James Tompton's car crashed into on that February day, now beginning to melt away. His sister Crystal says she's hoping for closure sometime soon.
We definitely need justice for him because he was taken so early on in his life.
Beloit police say anyone with information that could help their investigation or anyone who saw the vehicle the day of are encouraged to call their investigative tips hotline. We have a number for that on our website, channel3000.com. In Beloit, Adam Duxter, News 3 Now.
Also on our website, channel3000.com, you can find a link to the surveillance footage of the vehicle Tompton was in earlier in the day. Some of those involved in an early morning crash between an SUV and a semi on Highway 69 remain in the hospital tonight. 10 were hurt, 9 of them in an SUV, including 6 children, all from rural Lafayette County, who were heading up to cheer on Blackhawk at the state girls basketball tournament. A 5-year-old injured, we've learned, was not seatbelted. This happened between Monticello and New Glarus. That SUV slowed to avoid some deer and was hit by that semi. A Wanakee man who shot and killed his neighbor last year is being committed for life to a mental institution. 75-year-old Ronald Jenny was found not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect today. He had pleaded no contest to first-degree intentional homicide after the shooting death of Julie Anderson back in August. Another show of respect tonight for a fallen sheriff's deputy killed yesterday in Rockford. A police procession escorting the body of Deputy Jacob Keltner from Winnebago County Coroner's Office back to McHenry County. Deputy Keltner served McHenry County for 12 years and was acting on behalf of the U.S. Marshal's Office during yesterday's shooting. He leaves behind a wife and 2 children. Temperatures were finally above freezing today, helping out with a little snow melt. There were plenty of puddles out there on our roadways, but it is looking like it could be a rather messy weekend. Here's Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti. Gary?
Well, we got to get rid of the snow sometime, and you know when it melts, it's going to make things messy. And tomorrow, the rain and the freezing rain and snow that we have mixed in will just add to the mess. Right now, Doppler track pretty quiet across the upper Midwest. The storm that we're watching is just off the map to our south and to our west, so things very quiet here for now. This morning, low temperatures were below 0 in the northern parts of our viewing area, where skies remained clear for much of the night. Cloud cover brought temperatures up to between about 10 and 20 across the rest of southern Wisconsin. Look at these high temperatures for today. Generally in the mid to upper 30s. Madison topped out at 36 degrees, La Crosse at 39. And these numbers are still a little bit below normal, but at least closer to the average for this time of year. Right now we're 25 degrees in Madison. To our south and west, temperatures are actually a little warmer. That's where the cloud cover is starting to come in from, and our temperatures may actually rise a little bit later on tonight. And we do have an alert day in the forecast for tomorrow for some snow, freezing rain, and rain in the morning. That will change to rain, especially from Madison southward later on in the afternoon, and then some mixed precipitation or snow tomorrow night. Tomorrow, look for skies to start out cloudy. Look for mixed precipitation in the morning and change to rain in the afternoon. The high temperature at 38. That's your News 3 Now First Alert forecast.
Gary, thank you. The president is at Mar-a-Lago tonight. He will be back in Washington Sunday. He and the First Lady were in Alabama today, touring tornado damage from last weekend. The two stood silently before a row of white crosses outside a church. This was in Lee County, Alabama. Each of those crosses representing the 23 people, including 4 children, who died last weekend. The president issued a disaster declaration to assist in the state's recovery. A hefty tax would be imposed on e-cigarettes and vaping products as part of the governor's budget proposal. Governor Evers recommending taxing e-cigarettes much like tobacco at a rate of 71%. Vape shops say that will increase prices, could drive them out of business. But groups advocating to keep e-cigarettes away from teenagers say the plan is a step in the right direction.
Probably getting money from parents or friends. Then if the tax is there, then it's more expensive for them to do, and they may avoid it for longer.
I know there are shops that are just vapor. I mean, a tax like this goes into effect, you're hurting a lot of small businesses.
State health officials say 20% of Wisconsin high schoolers were using e-cigarettes last year. Knuckleheads employees say every customer is ID'd and they will not sell to anyone under 18. Empire actor Jussie Smollett has been indicted on 16 felony counts, accused of staging a hate crime against himself. If convicted on those charges, he could face decades behind bars. Dean Reynolds reports from Chicago.
Smollett, a co-star of the TV show Empire, was charged last month with a single felony for involving disorderly conduct for filing a false police report. Now, the Cook County grand jury has charged him with felonies for every alleged lie he told the Chicago police who were compiling that report. Smollett told them he was roughed up on the street near his Chicago apartment early on the 29th of January by 2 men who hurled racial and homophobic slurs at him, doused him with a chemical, and tied a noose around his neck, while yelling, "This is MAGA country." Initially, police called him a victim, but surveillance cameras showed no assault. They did show these 2 men, however, who quickly went from persons of interest to key witnesses when they told the cops Smollett had paid them to stage the attack. Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson was outraged.
Jussie Smollett took advantage of the pain and anger of racism to promote his career. I'm left hanging my head and asking why.
According to the grand jury, Smollett knew there was no reasonable ground for believing that such offenses had been committed. They said he falsely claimed he was a victim of a hate crime, that one of his attackers was a white man, that he was hit in the face, that a noose was draped around his neck, and that he had fought back, a claim he repeated at a concert days later.
I fought back.
Each one of the 16 counts carries a maximum of 4 years in prison. That's 64 years behind bars, potentially. Smollett is due back here in Chicago in court next Thursday. Dean Reynolds, CBS News, Chicago.
And another developing story out of Chicago. R. Kelly's manager says he expects his client to be released from jail really at any moment now. The Grammy Award winner was taken into custody Wednesday for failing to pay $161,000 in back child support. He is also, of course, facing charges of sexually abusing underage girls, which he has strongly denied. At this hour, however, he remains behind bars. Eric Salazar Mota, the second man charged for the murder of 5-year-old Austin Ramos Jr. of Beloit, will spend the next 14 years in prison. In January, Salazar Mota pleaded guilty to the charge of second-degree reckless homicide as party to a crime. Salazar Mota, one of 4 men arrested in connection with the shooting death. This happened back in 2015. According to a criminal complaint, Salazar Mota and a group of men were driving through Beloit when they shot at a vehicle they believed was being driven by a rival gang member. Young Austin and his father were in that vehicle. Car break-ins continue to be an issue in our community, but now more thieves are taking their act underground. Madison police crime analysts have noticed an uptick in burglaries in which underground parking garages are being targeted. Criminals sneak inside, break vehicle windows, then steal items. The latest happened last Sunday morning at a complex off Harbortown Drive. Nearly 25 cases have now been reported since the start of the year.
These things are happening a lot of times on weekends, particularly in our West District. So if you live in an apartment building, you have an underground parking garage, just be vigilant.
The item most frequently stolen, backpacks. If you see any suspicious behavior, of course, contact police. The family of a Kenosha man who died aboard a cruise ship in 2016 has been awarded more than $3 million. A federal court in Miami says Royal Caribbean's medical staff didn't do enough to save the man's life. 70-year-old Richard Puchalski was with his family when he visited the infirmary with shortness of breath. He later collapsed after being sent back to his cabin. The complaint says the medical staff made errors that led to his heart attack being fatal. Jurors found Royal Caribbean to be 70% at fault, awarding the family $3.38 million. Royal Caribbean says it plans to appeal that decision. The village of DeForest has a new police chief today. James Olson has been sworn in. He will start his new job on Monday. Olson worked for the Milwaukee Police Department for 29 years. His hiring comes 6 months after the former police chief Daniel Furseth resigned after a racist YouTube video surfaced. In celebration of International Women's Day, UW-Madison students and community members gathered tonight to show support for women around the world by petitioning the Madison Common Council to pass a resolution and join over 40 cities in support of the United Nations Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, known as an International Bill of Rights for Women.
We're bringing that resolution, hoping to get it passed by the Alder people so that it can be enacted into Madison law.
That celebration also featured a screening of A Girl in the River, The Price of Forgiveness, a short film on honor killings of Pakistani women, and a discussion on women's rights. Still ahead tonight, a messy couple of days ahead, as Gary said. We'll have your full weekend forecast. And a sign of spring, Miller Park in the final stages, getting ready for the upcoming season. You're watching News 3 Now at 10. Welcome back. Hiring slammed on the brakes in February. According to the Labor Department, employers added just 20,000 jobs last month, far lower than expected, reviving some concerns about the strength of the economy. Meanwhile, the unemployment rate fell to 3.8%. Flu activity still high across the U.S. The Centers for Disease Control says the season may not have peaked just yet, as a second wave of severe infections is impacting some states. According to the latest weekly report, between October 1st and March 2nd, there were as many as 26.3 million flu illnesses, but hospitalization rates are a lot lower than last season. The 2019 U.S. Cheese Champion has been crowned during a ceremony in Green Bay. The winning cheese was announced this morning. It's a baby Swiss made by a team out of Millersburg, Ohio, barely edging out a Gouda made in Thorpe, Wisconsin by a cheesemaker who won the contest in 2013. Several other of the 20 finalists were also Wisconsin contenders.
If you're from Wisconsin and you're a cheesemaker, or you see one in the grocery store that you hear won, you're really eating the best cheese in the country.
60 cheese judges evaluated entries from 35 states in the competition. When you set your clocks ahead an hour this weekend, emergency management officials say you should also be testing your smoke and carbon monoxide detectors in your home. All homes and duplexes are required to have detectors installed on every level, including the basement. The National Fire Protection Association also says it's a good time to change the batteries in your detectors. 3 out of every 5 home fire deaths happen when a home either doesn't have any smoke detectors or those detectors were not working properly. Most people don't want to end up in the hospital, but today one Rockford woman said that is exactly where she wanted to be. A year ago today, Emily Miller suffered from a stroke. She was just 28 at the time. Doctors at UW Hospital saved her life after she was med-flighted from Rockford. As a way to give back, on her 1-year anniversary, she spent the day giving comfort kits to patients in the neuro ICU.
I just decided to do it. I want to say like June or July. I said, hey, like, why not?
And Emily was able to give out about 40 care kits to patients and their families today. Well, a sign of spring, the grounds crew at Miller Park took the tarp off the field early this morning. The Brewers home opener just 20 days away. And now that the tarp is off, the grounds crew will begin work on the grass over the next 3 weeks to make sure the playing surface is top notch. Brewers home opener March 28th, 1 p.m. against the St. Louis Cardinals. And Gary, I know 1 month from today, Wrigley Field will be full of fans.
Hopefully I'll be there.
Have snow off the
Yeah, I know. We
place.
have to get rid of that. Well, I'm heading down to Arizona next a week from
You'll
tomorrow.
be fine there with the snow.
So, yeah, the temperature should be warming up there. But around here, you know, the problem is getting rid of that snow and at the same time having to deal with rain. That could lead to some flooding issues. So we have an alert day in the forecast for tomorrow. Some mixture of some snow, freezing rain, and rain early will change to rain from Madison southward during the afternoon hours. Now later on tomorrow night, areas north of Madison will still see that mixed precipitation changing over to some light snow with some minor accumulations. Nothing out there right now on Doppler radar. In fact, you can see even to the south and west, not seeing anything through the state of Iowa, but there are winter storm warnings in effect from Eau Claire westward through the Twin Cities and winter weather advisories from much of northern Wisconsin to southern Minnesota and northern Iowa. Couple of things to take a look at. First of all, the widespread snow cover, basically from Chicago northward, the ground completely covered with snow in many locations, especially in the northern half of the state, over 1 foot to 2 feet of snow on the ground. Here in southern Wisconsin, generally about a 6 to 12-inch snow cover. But of course, those piles are much higher near the streets where we've just been plowing the snow into bigger and bigger drifts. Now, the forecast snow potential shows the potential for maybe a 7 to 9 or 10-inch snowfall through northwestern Wisconsin, through much of Minnesota. There could be some localized amounts in excess of 1 foot. In southern Wisconsin, it'll be mainly areas well north of Madison, up toward the Dells and north of there, that could see a couple of inches of snow. There also could be a little bit of light freezing rain, perhaps up to 1/10 of an inch here. Some heavier amounts, a possibility in parts of southern Minnesota and northern Iowa. And then for just about everybody else, it's the rain we're going to be contending with. Latest computer models showing anywhere between about a 1/2 inch and maybe 1 inch of rain across southern Wisconsin. That coupled with the snow melt is going to lead some localized flooding problems, and we'll see that more and more through the spring as we gradually decrease that snow cover. Right now, though, the live view from the Edgewater Skycam, very quiet here in Madison. Low this morning, 11 degrees. That's 11 degrees below normal, but our high of 36, only 3 degrees below the average. And right now we're at 25 degrees. The air is calm. Humidity 88%, and as the clouds start to move in from the southwest later on tonight, we'll actually see those temperatures rise up. The storm we're watching is this mass of clouds here. A very strong jet stream continues in off the Pacific Ocean. This is going to tap into moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. So what you're going to see here is a lot of precipitation breakout over the next 12 hours to our south and west and then head northeastward. And the rain snow line will be right through southern Wisconsin and gradually lifting northward. To the south, there could be severe weather down toward the Ohio River. To the north and west, a major winter storm and some ice in between. But right now, things are pretty quiet around here. The thicker clouds are still to our south and west. That area of low pressure continues to get going. Temperatures are in the 40s down in southern Kansas, but below freezing across our part of part of the Midwest. Our forecast calls for a low of 23 degrees for tonight. The skies turn cloudy toward morning. Then tomorrow, look for cloudy skies. We'll see that rain and snow and freezing rain change over to rain in the afternoon. High of 38 in Madison. On future track, again, the clouds come in for tonight, lows in the lower 20s. Tomorrow, here's that mix of precipitation lifting to the north, and we'll see mainly rain through much of the afternoon. Then that'll change back to a little bit of light snow late tomorrow night. And then on Sunday, we'll see some breaks in the clouds. Temperatures, though, still a little bit above freezing, so we'll continue to melt the snow. The accumulating snow north of the Dells, a couple of inches there, maybe perhaps up to 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain up there as well. And then again, a 1/2 inch to 1 inch of rain expected over much of southern Wisconsin. 10-day forecast, a little bit of a drop in the temperatures for Monday, a warm up for the middle of the week, perhaps more thunderstorms on Wednesday with high temperatures in the mid-50s, a little bit of a cool down after that. But each time we have these cool downs, they're not quite as dramatic as the ones before. So I guess we're trending in the right direction.
I'm glad we don't live in Superior. 9 inches you had on that thing?
Yeah, some areas could see more than a foot.
I'm done with that stuff for now. Gary, thank you. Big upset tonight. D1 semifinals, girls state basketball. The highlights coming your way next in sports.
Oh, so we had a jam-packed day at the Resch Center for the WIA Girls State Basketball Tournament. Middleton making its first appearance there since 2011, and the 4th-seeded Cardinals not about to go quietly into the night. Middleton against top-seeded Mukwonago in the Division I semifinals. Evie Coleman with the ball. She knocks down a big three, one of her 5 on the night. She had one of her career best games with 19 points tonight, rather. Later, how about Hannah Floatmeyer on the inside? 14 points, 7 rebounds for her, and Middleton kept up and more. 62-53 the final score. The Cardinals will face Bayport in the title game tomorrow night. That's at 8:15. In the First Division II semifinal, Beaver Dam looking for their 3rd straight state title. And the Golden Beavers putting on an impressive show. Natalie Jens came off the bench, scoring 9 points in the first half. Then UW recruit Tara Stoffacher showing everyone what she can do. Now Beaver Dam rolling into the final with a 68-48 win over Hortonville. And head coach Tim Chase says his team has their eyes on the prize. That's another.
And right now we're just focused on playing one more last game this year and playing that one game as best as we possibly can. That's our focus. I mean, we really want to play our best basketball. And we're just striving all year, every single day, to become a better team. And that's going to be our attitude tomorrow.
And it'll be an all-Badger Conference Division II final because Monroe beat Whitefish Bay in the other semifinal. Another Badger recruit, Sydney Hilliard, with a stellar game, the crossover dribble and a left-handed finish. Hilliard had 25 points. Emily Benchel with 19 to lead Monroe to a 59-47 win. But these ladies told R.J. Wilson they're not done yet.
Have you wanted a shot at Beaver Dam?
Yeah, for a long time. Yeah, definitely. Why? Because they're so good. I think it kind of brings out a competitiveness in us. I think everyone wants a chance at Beaver Dam, but I think we can do it tomorrow if we believe.
In Division 5, Blackhawk was the state runner-up last year, and the Warriors back in the final again this year. They beat Fall River. Blackhawk in the Division 5 semis. Kaylee Marty to Natalie Leutzinger. She and Bailey Butler led Blackhawk with 18 points. Blackhawk wins 71-39, and the Warriors didn't have an easy journey getting here.
We don't get a whole lot of second chances to get this. We worked really hard over the summer. I mean, we didn't even have a basketball court because our gym was getting redone, and we had to go to the community park. But our whole team is dedicated to this sport, and our goal was to get at least one gold ball in our high school career, and we're just thankful that we get another shot at it.
The Badger women's basketball team already made history yesterday by becoming the first 13 seed in the Big Ten women's basketball tournament to advance out of the first round. But even a bigger challenge today, facing 4th-ranked Michigan, who had plenty of rest coming into today's game. Badgers with a 1-point lead at the half, and this was a fight to the very, very end. We pick it up in the 4th quarter, Wisconsin down 3. But Kelly Carlos, she is so good from that corner spot there. Tie game at 48. Clock winding down now. Badgers down 2. Imani Lewis in the paint. And it is good. Tied again at the end of regulation. Needed 2 overtimes here, but Michigan edging out Wisconsin 73-65, the final. For the men, now 24th-ranked Maryland beat Minnesota 69-60 in its regular season finale tonight. So that means if Wisconsin wants that 4 seed, that last double-bye spot in the Big Ten tournament, they have to beat Ohio State on Sunday. We'll be right back.
A programming note of that Badger game.
Indeed, you can watch a Badger game on Sunday at 3:30 right here on WISC-TV. Be sure to tune in.
Big one in Columbus.
Yep.
Final check of the forecast.
By that time, the rain will be over and hopefully the snow too. Most of the accumulating snow will be in the northern parts of our viewing area this weekend. Maybe a little bit of freezing rain, especially north of the Dells. So if you're traveling that way tomorrow, keep that in mind. For the rest of us, mainly rain, but that'll melt the snow and could lead to some localized flooding problems. Temperatures right now, mid-20s. Look for a high tomorrow around 38. A little cooler at the beginning of the week, but warm up midweek, and then a cooler trend at the end of the week.
And have a great, safe weekend, everybody. Thanks for joining us at 10.